I'm here now.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So this week, because there wasn't a release, we have a couple of other updates. We won't be going no new features. So there's a couple other things that we wanted to show that I think are quite valuable. And then, as per usual, I feel like maybe it's been a couple of weeks now that I've shared this, but there's still no entries. So I guess Ovi or Nigel, have either of you already used table queries?
Yes.
Yeah, we both, yeah.
Oh yeah. It'd be good if you select to win a water bottle. It's actually customized with the Tulip logo. But if you want to win a water bottle right now, all you have to do is just take a screenshot of the app and add a sentence, and you'll automatically win. Because right now we only have one entry from somebody at Tulip, and John already has this water bottle.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you'd like, you can just share, just a screenshot and a sentence of how you're using it, and then at that point you have a very high likelihood of winning.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, how are you using the table queries and aggregations? I guess to both of you.
I just made an app to check for duplicates in the income inspection because we had some problems with duplicate serial numbers. So I just use it. I use it for several reasons, but one of them is to increment the duplicate number I add if there is. So I search through how many items there are with the same serial number.
Okay.
And just add a suffix to that.
Okay, so something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I just check that. So the serial number is the ID of the table. So I just check the the serial number. If it starts with the same serial number, then I count how many there are, and then I add a suffix to the serial number,
Okay.
like D1, D2, D3.
Oh, okay, nice. And what about you, Nigel? How are you? What's the app?
Yeah, we were using it to check alarm codes to see if there's any duplication on alarm codes. So once a user puts an alarm code, it checks and there's a query to see if that alarm code's already in the table. And if it is, it spits out a message and they say you have to pick a normal.
Nice. Yeah, but both of those are really good use cases. If you'd like to share in the app competition, I think it's
We get a free bottle.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this I think is the first part of a larger release that will include mass updates. So right now, if you want to update a record, you can only do one by one. Whereas in the future, we'll be adding the ability to say you make a query and you can kind of say right now it's just to read information, but you'll also be able to write information in batches, kind of. So if you want to, like, if you have a bill of materials, you need to subtract all those values from certain parts in an inventory table, you can do that all at once without having to update each record individually. Okay, cool. So then the other thing that I wanted to share is the ability, and hey Roisin, good morning.
Good morning. Apologies, I'm a bit late.
Oh no, not a problem. The other thing that we wanted to share, you haven't missed much yet actually, but we recommend if the computer that you're running from can download the player. So if it's a Windows computer, Macintosh, or an Android phone or tablet, we recommend downloading the player. But there are some devices, for example, yesterday in the office hours in the US, somebody was saying they use a Google Chromebook, so something like that, or if there's an iPad, an iPhone, for which there's not the native iOS app, you can always run the player from any browser. So you can just, I'll open up incognito mode here, so it's not logged in on the builder as well. And if I just go to my instance and do /player, like this, it opens up the player regularly. So, ask me to register the display device, and I can log in and do all the regular stuff. I mean, it's at this point it just acts like a normal player, but I think it's good to know because, yeah, either sometimes if you can't install a player for whatever reason, or if the device you're using doesn't support it, it's good to know that you can always access the player. And actually, somebody in office hours yesterday, it was a good idea. You can also run multiple players side by side. So if you need, for any reason, if you need 2 players running side by side, you can always download the player and keep it open on the browser on the other side and have 2 of them running in parallel.
If you connect a barcode scanner, will you get device input from that if you run in a browser? I know that has been an issue. Or was not
with the browser?
Yeah.
I am not confident. If it's connected to a gateway, yes.
Yeah, but directly to the laptop or Chromebook.
I don't know with certainty the answer to that question. My guess is that it works if you kind of have, just like a text input. Because then if you scan something, it's kind of like, and you highlight it, it's kind of just like the keyboard. So the browser recognizes the keyboard. But if you have a trigger to, like, when the barcode outputs at the station, then do X, then that will not work.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think happens, but I haven't tested it, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, you have some computers that you can install the player on?
No, well, we thought we could use Chromebooks, but for some stations we need to have the scan barcode scan input for triggers.
Yeah. Okay.
So Chromebooks are very easy to set up and maintain.
Yeah, and they're affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still think it's worth to test because I'm not sure with certainty. I don't have a barcode scanner here, unfortunately, so I can't test for you. But
yeah, I know it did not work last year. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So.
Okay.
So yeah. Yep. Yeah, of course. So then the other thing I wanted to share is, so actually I got an email from a user the other day that I think was quite simple, but quite an interesting thing. And basically, they have a situation in which, I can't remember if they were scanning, or you didn't mention if they were scanning or just entering through a regular input, but they had a serial number that changed. That could be either less than 10, so just 1 digit long. It could be between 10 and 99, so 2 digit long, 3 digits, or 4 digits. And depending on how long it was, the user here wanted to append either 3, 2, 1, or 0 zeros to the serial number to always make it 4 characters, essentially. So what we did is quite a simple solution. I'll open it up. And you see here, if I put in just a 1, it adds 3 zeros. If I put in 2 digits, it adds just 2 zeros. And then if I put in 4 digits, it doesn't add any zeros. So this is, it's really simple, but I think it's quite good because it's like an effective way to kind of show how. So here, let me show you. Basically every time I append first 4 zeros, which actually is unnecessary. I only need to do 3, but yeah, let's actually update that. And then I store it in a variable called serial number text. And then I use this function here called write, which takes 2 arguments. The first one is the variable, and the second one is the length, the number of characters that I'd like to store. So then it's quite interesting. The last thing, I guess, is that if you see here, within one action, I'm both using data from a variable and then storing it back into the variable itself. So, you know, sometimes I see people doing like creating a bunch of like temporary variables, whereas this is, I just wanted to highlight it because, you know, you can use the same variable, manipulate it and store it back in itself in an action, which I think saves, yeah, like creating too many variables or making things too complicated. Yeah, there's also yesterday in the office hours in the US, somebody was mentioning about the len. Yeah, they were doing something similar, but using the len, which, you know, basically just gives you back, as you can see here, the length of an input string of whatever variable. So I think there the case was probably, not sure actually, but because they had to like kind of manipulate not just at the start or at the end, but in between. So at that point, it's good to have the length to know where to inject other things in the variable. But yeah, do folks have any questions on this? Okay, cool. Yeah, do people have any? That was it from the updates on our end. Is there anything that would be useful for me to go over, or is there something that you'd like to share?
Nothing from my end.
No,
This
okay.
week.
Yeah, how are things going with the app building, by the way, Roisin?
It's been halted sort of at the minute. We're still waiting on the finalization of the data table from the engineering. So when that's finalized and we know exactly what we need to put in it, then we'll be all going ahead with it. But we sort of don't want to go ahead with something we don't know like what's actually happening. So
Okay.
Yeah, there's sort of two things. As Roshan says, we're waiting on finalization from the data table, but also they're doing migration to AWS.
yeah.
So yeah, so we've got AWS. We'll probably have to do the connectors and the AWS through the APIs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll probably once we get the data table sorted, then I would be talking to AWS and back in the data table again, the update and stuff. So it's gonna be quite a bigger project than we thought it would be, Gio.
Yeah.
And it's just sitting down. It's just sitting down to do the process with engineers. Some of them know what they want, and the others don't know what they want, and it's just going around
yeah.
at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And have you already started using, by the way, connectors? Are you familiar with?
We haven't used any connectors at all. Like I know you went over it a couple of weeks and it was just over our heads. So listen. Once we sit down to actually use them, I know some of our segment in the States, Genie, have used connectors. Audrey's team. I don't know if you've been working with them. They've been using it. So we were in a meeting with them last week and they were she was showcasing Tulip and what they were using it for in Genie. And we said happy days now. They've been using connectors with the APIs with AWS too. So yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing some great stuff. I don't know. Also, Alan, I know he's been building quite a lot. Yeah. The whole team there is really.
Yeah, so it has been using Genie. So the next stage is going to be using the MP or segment, and then hopefully it'll be pushed out the other different segments within Terex, the cranes and stuff like that. Like
Yeah. I still think it's useful, you know, like so there's really good walkthrough that I linked there in the chat. But basically, it shows you how you can use the API here to get the weather. But you know, it doesn't matter if you're getting the weather, if you're getting information from AWS or where, you know, whatever you're connecting to.
Yeah, wherever it's coming from. Yeah,
it's good to like know how the whole flow of like setting up a connector, writing a function, and then calling that function from the app.
Definitely useful to look at.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of
Thanks
course.
to you.
Yeah. I can also, I'll take note to do something with connectors in the office hours next week, because I think it's, you know, it's definitely a very powerful part of the platform, and it's especially, you know, at the start there's a few moving parts, so it's kind of good to know, like more than anything, just how everything works together.
Yes, connecting to the API and then writing to the table and then taking stuff from the table into Tulip and then back into the API again, connector into AWS. So yeah, Redshift I think we're using.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, especially if there's like a lot of movements between moving parts like that, I think it's good to know, like, you know, sometimes like drawing a simple schematic of like, okay, this is where this information is stored in Tulip table. This is how the transaction happens, then it goes out to Redshift. Yeah,
updates the table, then comes back again with whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I mean, in the coming weeks, once you update, let us know.
I will get on with the MAPs. Thank you.
Yeah. So
I have a question. I'm working on this shipping app that we will use to pick and make pallets and ship. So at the moment we just get a CSV file from our ERP system and transfer them into the Tulip table. But we are working on with a company that will make a connection from QAD to Boomi, a database thing, I guess. and then we will have this direct connection via or indirect connection from Tulip to QAD to the ERP system. So what is the I guess there will be a little work to move from using Tulip table to using this other solution. But what is the best thing to do? Is it to leave all the data in the Dell Boomi table, or pull it into a Tulip table and update it there and then back again, or just use it as just use a table in Boomi?
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it. One, if you have the data in a Tulip table, it's a little bit easier to kind of read and write information because you can just do like data manipulation, store, and then whatever, and then back and forth. But on the downside, you'd be duplicating data, and so having two sources of truth, I think, is always a little bit risky because then they can get out of sync, and it's just best if you have all the table there and you can just run a connector function. You can run as many connector functions as you like and just keep going back and forth. But it may take some more time to build because it's not just data manipulation, store variable into the table record. Here you have to build the connector with some inputs, with some outputs, and then run the connectors every time you want to transact data. But it's better, I think, because then at that point you know that for sure your source of truth is the data that's in QAD, and that's that there's no kind of but something didn't sync up correctly or whatever it is.
Can you have a connector function that includes most of the fields in a table and just use the one you want? Does it have to contain something in all of the inputs?
No, it doesn't have to.
So you can have a generic function you can use.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So here, for example, and it kind of depends on.
I guess this ends up with making some functions that are generic for that covers the most used. What's most used?
Yeah. So it kind of depends on the on the Boomi end how the ERP is like will receive something that is empty. But to show you an example, so here, for example, to say I go to insert row, I'll put in the spreadsheet that was just created. Let me just test it to make sure that it works. Okay, I'll start it at A1. Okay, so here, Google Sheets, for example, you see how all these were undefined. It registers them as undefined. But like I said, this is because this is how Google Sheets kind of, if there is nothing in that field, this is how it updates. But
yeah,
it can, yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So we just need to find out how Boomi deals with it.
Yeah, exactly. But from the Tulip side, you can absolutely run the connector function even if it's empty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good to know.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. The one, I guess, disadvantage if you do just create one function, which I think it's a better idea because that way it's easier to just do one and manage that. The only disadvantage is that if you go to run the connector function, Google Sheet, insert row, you see every time you have inputs, all these inputs that you have to enter. Whereas if you have more smaller functions, then it would just be one drop down, you can select it here.
Yeah.
But here, every time, you can just put it to static value empty and just leave it like this. But it does take a little while. That's the only thing.
Yeah, it will be fun.
Yeah. Okay. Also, when did you say this was happening, Ovid?
Well, I have a test version of this app running now with Tulip tables. So this is, I'm not directly involved in this project with to integrate with our ERP system. So I will just have some input for the project, but I'm not sure. They are. It is this spring, I guess, but it's not started yet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let us know once you do get it set up if you have any questions.
Yeah, and also Brian is involved.
Okay. Great.
So yeah, I guess he also can.
Yeah, for sure.
Give me some help.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Do you have any other questions? By the way, I get Ove or Nigel or Roisin?
No, nothing from my end. Gio, thanks.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, in that case, thanks everybody for joining. I'll see what I can do with quick connectors demo next week. Something good and creative that at least will start to get things started. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining. If you have any questions or things, feel free to reach out. And if not, we'll see everybody next week. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yeah, same as yourself.
Thanks, Gio.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.